2 suns burned high above the sky of the alien city. Their light fell on towers made of glass and silver, shining like giant blades. The city was alive with ships moving between the clouds, glowing with energy. People of many alien species walked in the streets below, tall, proud, and strong. But inside the richest mansion of them all, a mother sat in silence. She was known across the planet as the Millionaire Mother. Her name opened doors, her wealth bought power. And her voice shook the market halls, but behind the walls of crystal and steel. Her heart was breaking. She had one daughter. Her only child, the girl, was small, with pale skin that glowed softly under alien light. Her eyes were bright like stars, but her body betrayed her. From birth, her legs refused to move. Doctors from 10 worlds had tried. Machines had scanned her veins and nerves. Energy healers had sung songs of power around her bed. But no cure was ever found. The child grew with dreams locked inside her heart. And the mother grew older with guilt pressed heavy on her soul. Every morning, servants rolled the girl in her floating chair to the garden. She watched other children run across the grass. Her hands gripped the armrest until her knuckles turned white. She smiled at them, but when they looked away, she lowered her head. The mother often watched from the window. Her chest filled with fire and sorrow. She had gold, ships, and power, but not the one thing her heart begged for. She whispered at night to the empty stars, "Take my riches, take my name, but let my child walk." One evening, the family gathered for dinner in the great hall, a table stretched like a river, covered in glowing dishes. Servants moved silently. Placing food from across the galaxy, the mother sat at the head of the table, her daughter beside her in the chair. Voices filled the hall, laughter and music. But the mother was far away, trapped inside her thoughts. She lifted a plate, her hand shaking. She thought of the girl beside her. Smiling bravely as always, a storm brewed inside the mother. Love and helpless anger colliding. Then, the sound of heavy boots echoed through the hall. The guards moved quickly, blocking the doors. A stranger had arrived. He was no alien. No proud citizen of the stars. He was human. Short compared to the towering aliens. Thin compared to their strength. His clothes were simple. Marked with dust from travel, the servants gasped. Whispers filling the room. "What is this weak creature doing here?" they muttered. The guards raised their weapons, glowing with red light. But the stranger only lifted his hand slowly. His voice was calm, steady, unlike his fragile body. "I came here not for gold, not for favor, but for the child," he said. The mother turned sharply, her eyes narrowing like blades. She had seen liars before. Healers who promised miracles. She had burned their contracts and thrown them out into the streets. "What can you possibly give that I have not already bought?" she asked. Her words shook the air like thunder. The hall grew tense, every servant frozen in place. The stranger did not move back. He only looked at the girl in the chair. His eyes soft but unshaken. "I can make her walk," he said. The mother's plate slipped from her hands. It struck the crystal floor, shattering into pieces. Food scattered like falling stars across the hall. The sound echoed like a bell of fate. Everyone stared. Their breaths caught in their throats. The girl gasped, her small hands trembling. Her lips parted, a whisper escaping before she could stop it. "Mother? Please, let him try." The hall fell silent. The guards looked at the mother, waiting for her command. The servants lowered their heads. Afraid to breathe, the stranger stood still, his shadow long in the light of the twin suns. The girl's voice was soft but sharp as a blade. For the first time in many years, hope was alive in her tone. The mother felt her heart split in two. Hope and fear, light and darkness, fighting inside her chest. She could not speak. Her hands shook, her eyes filled with tears. The weight of years pressed down upon her. But still, she could not turn away, and so the story began. Not with the wealth of a millionaire, not with the power of an empire, but with the arrival of a fragile human carrying nothing but his strange calm and a promise. A promise that could change everything. The human stood calmly before the guards. Their weapons glowing with red fire, he looked weak, too thin compared to the armored soldiers. Yet his eyes carried no fear, only certainty. The mother's voice broke the silence. Sharp and cold, "Remove him," she ordered, though her hands trembled under the table. The guard stepped forward, heavy boots striking the crystal floor. But the girl in the chair suddenly cried out. "Stop!" she shouted, her small voice echoing through the great hall. Everyone froze, shocked by her sudden command. Even the guards halted, their armor buzzing with trapped energy. The girl's eyes locked on the human. Her heart raced, beating faster than ever before. Something inside her whispered that he was different, not like the others who promised and failed. She leaned forward, gripping the arms of her chair until her knuckles went pale. "Mother, please, let him speak," she begged. The mother clenched her fists, torn between fury and despair. Her pride screamed to throw him out. Her love whispered to listen. The entire hall held its breath. Waiting for her choice, at last, the mother lifted her hand. The guards stepped back reluctantly. Lowering their weapons, "Speak then, human," she said. Her voice low and dangerous. "But know this, if you lie, you will not leave this hall alive." The stranger bowed his head slightly. Calm as ever, he walked forward slowly until he stood near the girl's chair. Gasps rippled through the servants as if he had broken an invisible law. The girl stared at him with wide eyes, her body tense with hope and fear. The mother's plate lay shattered on the floor. Forgotten but heavy with meaning, the man knelt beside the girl. He carried no grand machine, no glowing alien tool. Only a small box made of dark metal. Etched with faint symbols, he placed it gently on the floor, and it hummed like a heartbeat. The glow from the symbols spread faint light across the hall. The guards shifted nervously. Weapons half raised, the servants whispered, their voices trembling with fear. The mother's eyes narrowed, watching every movement. Her chest rose and fell like storm waves. The girl whispered softly, "What is it?" The man looked up at her. "It is old," he said, his voice steady. "Older than your empire, older than your science, older than your wealth." He pressed a hand to the box, and the hum grew louder. A soft breeze rippled through the hall, though no window was open. The lights flickered, shadows dancing across the crystal walls. The girl's fingers twitched as if some hidden current touched her. She gasped and leaned forward. The mother rose from her chair in alarm. "What are you doing to her?" she shouted. Her voice breaking, the human looked at the mother. "I am reminding her body of what it has forgotten," he answered. "No harm will come to her." "Unless you force it," the mother's heart thundered in her chest. Every instinct screamed to end this, to throw him out. But another voice, quiet yet strong, whispered in her soul. "What if he speaks truth?" it asked. Her eyes flicked to her daughter. The girl's cheeks were flushed with color she had never shown before. Her lips trembled, whispering, "Mother, I feel something." The hall trembled with silence. Even the guards lowered their weapons. Uncertain now, the servants leaned forward, their fear mixing with wonder. The man lifted the box and placed it closer to the girl's legs. The glow brightened, symbols dancing like fireflies. The girl shivered, her breath sharp and fast. She gripped the chair tighter, as though her body was waking from a long sleep. The mother fell back into her chair, hands clutching her chest. Her eyes blurred with tears she had sworn never to show in public. A storm of hope and terror raged inside her. The girl cried out suddenly. Her foot twitched. The first movement in her life. The entire hall gasped as one. The mother dropped her glass, water spilling across the shining table. She stared at her daughter with eyes wide as the sun's. The girl's lips trembled, her voice small and fragile. I felt it," she whispered. The human only nodded, as if this was expected. "Her body remembers," he said, "but the path is long, she must take it step by step." And with courage, the mother's knees shook as she tried to stand. Her breath caught in her throat, her body trembling. For years, she had buried her hope under wealth and anger. Now that hope burned alive before her. Fierce and merciless, she wanted to believe. She feared to believe, her tears fell freely. Unhidden before her servants, "Who are you?" she whispered. Her voice breaking, the man's eyes glowed faintly. Not with machine light, but something deeper. "I am human," he said, his words heavy with meaning. "And we are far more than you have been told." The girl's chair hummed softly, her legs trembling with new sparks of life. Her face shone with joy and terror. The servants covered their mouths, their hearts racing with disbelief. The guards stood frozen, trapped between duty and awe. The mother pressed her hands to her face, her sobs filling the hall. The box glowed brighter for a moment, then dimmed. Its work was not finished, but the beginning had been made. And in that great mansion under the two suns, the story of a human among aliens had truly begun. The girl's foot twitched again, small but real. Her eyes widened, glowing with wonder and fear at the same time. Her hands shook as she clutched the chair. Never in her life had she felt this fire in her legs. The human knelt calmly, watching without pride, without fear, as if this miracle was not a miracle to him at all, but something natural. The mother stood frozen, her tears falling onto the polished floor. She wanted to run to her daughter, to hold her, but her body refused to move. Trapped between hope and dread, the guards exchanged uneasy glances. They had sworn to protect the mansion from danger. Yet they could not point their weapons at the man now, not after seeing what he had done. The servants whispered in the corners, voices trembling. "Is this the prophecy?" one muttered, the child touched by the forgotten power. Another servant shook his head. "No, it must be a trick. It has to be," but their eyes never left the girl. For in their hearts, doubt and belief fought like storm and flame. The human placed his hand gently on the glowing box. The hum lowered, soft like a heartbeat slowing down. He looked up at the girl, his voice calm and deep. "This is only the first step," he said. "You must decide whether you want to take the next." The girl's lips trembled, her breath unsteady. "Yes," she whispered. "I want to walk. I want to live." The human nodded once, his expression unreadable, but the mother gasped, her voice breaking with fear. "Wait," she cried. "What price do you demand?" Her words cracked like thunder across the hall. All eyes turned toward the human. The galaxy had taught them that nothing came free. Healers, traders, warriors, every promise carried a cost. The mother's chest heaved as she stepped forward. Her hands shook, her eyes sharp like blades, through tears. "You will not touch her again until I know what you want," she declared. Her voice echoed against the silver walls. She was a mother, powerful, desperate, and unyielding. No wealth meant more to her than her daughter's life. The human rose slowly, leaving the box glowing on the floor. He met the mother's gaze with calm fire in his eyes. "I want nothing of gold or jewels," he said. "I do not seek your fortune, nor your empire." His voice was steady, but each word cut through the silence like a blade. "What I want is proof," he continued. "Proof that your people can still believe in something beyond power and wealth." The hall trembled with silence. The servants leaned closer, their ears straining. Even the girl stared at him, confused and afraid. The mother's lips curled with suspicion. She had heard of humans before, a fragile species from the far stars. Weak in body, but strange in spirit. She thought they were wanderers, traitors, beggars of the cosmos. Yet this one stood as if he held the strength of 1,000 empires. His words carried weight her own kind could not explain. "What if I refuse?" she asked coldly. Her voice carried the steel of command. The human's answer was simple. "Then she will never walk again." Gasps filled the hall like a wave crashing against rocks. The girl cried out, her voice sharp with panic. "No, mother, please," she begged. Tears streaked her cheeks as her hands shook violently. "I felt it. I felt life in my legs. Please do not take it away." The mother's chest tightened. Her breath ragged, her pride battled her love. Her wealth meant nothing against her daughter's broken voice. The mansion's walls felt colder, heavier. As if the whole city leaned in to hear her choice, the human stepped closer to the girl. He knelt beside her again, his voice soft. "You are stronger than you believe," he said. "Your body has been caged. But your spirit was never broken." The girl closed her eyes. Tears dripping onto her hands, she whispered, "I want to walk." No matter the cost, the mother's heart shattered at those words. Her daughter was choosing hope, choosing risk. Her legs trembled, though she had not stood for years. And the mansion seemed to breathe with her courage. The box pulsed brighter. The glow reached up like golden threads wrapping around the girl's legs. The hum grew louder, filling the hall with vibrations. The servants held their breath. The guards stood frozen. The girl's body shook as her toes curled. Her feet pressed gently against the floor. A cry escaped her lips, half pain, half joy. She lifted herself a little higher in the chair. The mother's hand covered her mouth in shock. Her plate lay broken still, but her world was being rebuilt. The girl gasped again as the light dimmed. Her body fell back into the chair, exhausted. But her eyes blazed with fire she had never known before. She looked at her mother and whispered, "It is real, mother. I can feel it. I am closer." The mother fell to her knees, unable to hold back her sobs. The hall shook with the sound of her cries. The human watched quietly. His face unreadable, the box dimmed to silence, as if it too was waiting. Waiting for the choice that was yet to come. The hall was still. Filled with the sound of the mother's sobs, the girl sat in her chair, trembling with exhaustion yet glowing with new strength. Her hands gripped the armrests, her eyes shining like never before. The servants hid their gasps behind their hands. Afraid to speak, the guards shifted uncomfortably. No training had prepared them for this moment, and the human remained calm, watching the girl as though he had seen this before. The mother wiped her tears and rose slowly. Her legs felt weak, though she was strong. She stepped closer to her daughter, her voice breaking. "My child, rest now." "This is too much," she whispered, but the girl shook her head fiercely. Her voice carried a power born from years of silence. "No, mother, I will not stop. I will walk. I will stand." Her words echoed across the silver walls like thunder. And the glow from the box pulsed in answer, as if the strange device understood her will. The human knelt again, placing both hands on the box. The symbols etched upon it began to shift and flow. They danced like streams of fire across the metal surface. The hum rose, deep and powerful, shaking the floor beneath them. Servants clutched one another in fear. One whispered, "This is forbidden power. No alien should touch it," another muttered. "It is not alien at all. It is older." Much older, the guards raised their weapons again. Nervous and unsure, but the mother lifted her hand sharply. "Do not interfere," she commanded, her eyes locked on her daughter. The girl gasped as the light spread up her legs. golden threads wrapped around her like vines of fire. Her feet pressed against the floor, harder now. Her body shivered as if waking from 1,000 years of sleep. The mother covered her mouth with both hands, her heart hammering, every second stretched into eternity. Then, with a cry of pain and joy, the girl pushed herself upward. Her body rose from the chair. Her knees bent, her legs quivered, and for the first time in her life, she stood. The hall erupted in shock. Servants screamed and fell to their knees. The guards dropped their weapons. Their jaws hanging open, the mother stumbled backward. Her eyes wide with disbelief, her plate and glass still shattered on the floor. But now her heart shattered too, only to be reborn with light. The girl wobbled, her legs shaking violently. But she took one step forward, then another. The sound of her feet striking the floor was louder than any battle cry. The mother's cry tore from her throat, raw and wild. She ran to her daughter and caught her in trembling arms. Her tears rained onto the girl's shoulders. Her voice broke into whispers. "You are walking. You are truly walking." The girl clung to her, her body weak, but her spirit fierce. "Mother, I told you. I felt it. I knew it," she whispered. The human rose slowly. Watching them without a word, the glow from the box dimmed as if its work was complete. The mansion's walls seemed to shine brighter. Even the twin suns outside appeared to burn with greater fire. But deep within the silence, a new question was born. The mother turned to the human, her eyes wet but blazing. Her voice trembled with equal parts gratitude and fear. "What are you?" she asked. "What kind of being carries such power?" The servants leaned closer. Desperate for his answer, the guard straightened, their fear battling curiosity. The girl held her mother's hand, but looked at the human too. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Please, tell us." The human's eyes glowed faintly. Not like a machine, but like a soul burning. His words were calm, yet they carried the weight of ages. "I am human," he said, "and what you saw is only the beginning." The hall filled with silence. His words hung in the air like a blade. The servants shivered. The guards exchanged uncertain glances. The mother's breath caught in her throat. She felt a strange truth pressing against her heart, that this fragile man was more dangerous than any weapon, and more valuable than all her wealth. She stepped forward, her voice low and unsteady. "If this is only the beginning, then what comes next?" she asked. Her question trembled like thunder on the edge of a storm. The human turned toward the girl. "She will walk, she will run, she will soar," he said. "But the gift comes with danger, for there are those who fear what they cannot control." The girl's eyes widened, her joy now mixed with dread. The mother's hands tightened protectively on her shoulders. "Who would dare threaten my child?" she demanded. The human's gaze shifted to the window, beyond the glass. Ships moved like shadows under the twin suns. "Your own kind," he answered. "For power fears nothing more than hope." And his words struck the hall like lightning. The mother's face hardened, pride and fear colliding inside her. She had fought empires, crushed rivals, bought loyalty with riches. But now, none of that would matter. Her daughter had taken her first steps, and the world would change. The girl stood tall despite her shaking legs, her eyes fierce with new fire. "I am not afraid," she said softly. But with steel in her voice, the human looked at her and nodded. "You should be," he whispered. "But courage is not the absence of fear. It is walking through it." The mother pulled her daughter close, her heart torn between love and terror. And the mansion, once filled with silence and sorrow, now trembled with destiny. The girl stood trembling, her legs weak but alive. Each breath she took was sharp with both pain and wonder. Her mother held her tightly, afraid to let go, afraid that if she blinked, This miracle would vanish like a dream. The servants bowed their heads, some crying, some whispering prayers. The guards stood in stunned silence, their weapons forgotten. And the humans simply watched, calm as the still sea. The mother turned her tear-filled eyes toward him. Her voice cracked, breaking under the weight of gratitude and fear. "You gave me back my child," she whispered. "You gave her life." The human shook his head slowly. "I did not give her life," he said. "I only unlocked what was already there." The mother frowned, her heart pounding with confusion. "What do you mean?" she demanded. The girl looked at him too. Her face pale but glowing, she whispered. "Tell us the truth." The human's eyes gleamed with a hidden fire. "Your science is advanced. Your wealth is great," he said, "but in chasing power. Your kind forgot something ancient." His voice echoed softly across the crystal walls. "Life is more than machines, more than energy, more than wealth." The mother stiffened, her pride rising with his words. "No alien has ever spoken to me like this," she said coldly. "I am not alien," he replied firmly. "I am human. And we carry knowledge your empires abandoned long ago." The room fell into silence again. Every servant and guard leaned forward. Caught in his voice, the girl trembled as her knees locked. She stumbled forward, her mother rushing to hold her steady. But the human held up a hand. "Do not stop her," he said. "She must walk on her own now." The girl gritted her teeth. Her face tight with determination, step by shaky step, she moved forward. Her legs wobbled, her body swayed, but she did not fall. Each step echoed like thunder in the hall. Each step broke chains that had bound her since birth. The mother's tears fell again, streaming down her cheeks. The servants gasped in awe. Some fell to their knees. Whispering words of devotion, one guard muttered, "She is touched by the old power." Another said, "No, it is him, the human. He carries it," but the human ignored their voices. His gaze stayed fixed on the girl, and when she finally reached the middle of the hall, he spoke. "This is only the beginning." The girl turned, her eyes blazing. "What comes after this beginning?" she asked. Her voice steady, the human walked slowly to the window. He looked out at the shining city of towers and ships. The twin suns painted the sky in gold and crimson. But his eyes saw something beyond the beauty, something darker, hidden in the light. He spoke without turning, his voice heavy. "When power sees what has awakened in you, it will come to destroy it." The hall shivered with his words. The servants' whispers turned to fearful silence. The guards tightened their grips on their weapons once more. The mother stepped forward, her anger burning. "Who dares threaten my child?" she demanded. Her voice thundered with authority. The human turned slowly, his gaze sharp and unyielding. "Your own kind," he answered, "because they fear hope. And nothing is more dangerous to the powerful than hope." The mother's heart clenched, her chest rising and falling with rage. She had bought armies, crushed rivals, silenced enemies. But this enemy was greater, an enemy that would come not for wealth, but for her daughter's life. The girl stood straighter, her legs trembling but firm. She looked at her mother, her voice soft but fierce. "I am not afraid," she said. The mother gasped, her tears flowing again. "My child, you do not understand," she whispered. But the human nodded. "She does understand," he said. "She knows fear. But she also knows courage." The girl lifted her chin. Her small hands clenched. "If they come for me, let them come," she declared, "for I will not go back to the chair. Not ever again." The mother fell silent, staring at her daughter, her pride, her fear, her love. All colliding in her chest, she saw not a weak child, but a flame that could burn bright enough to challenge the stars. She turned back to the human, her voice sharp. "Why her?" she asked. "Why my daughter?" The human's eyes softened. "Because the universe does not choose the strongest," he said, "it chooses the ones who dare to rise, no matter how many times they fall," and his words settled in the hall like a prophecy. The servants bowed their heads in silence. The guards lowered their weapons slowly. The mother clutched her daughter's hand, her heart shaking, and the girl stood proud, her breath heavy but her spirit unbroken. The human stepped back, his eyes glowing faintly. "This is the first step," he whispered. "The path ahead is dangerous. But she will not walk it alone." The mother narrowed her eyes, suspicion mixing with gratitude. "Why help us?" she asked. "What does Earth want from us?" The human smiled. But his smile carried both warmth and warning. "Earth wants nothing," he said softly, "but humanity. Humanity will show you who we really are." The hall trembled with the weight of his words. The girl's heart pounded, her spirit soaring. The mother's breath caught as she realized the truth. This was not just her story, not just her daughter's miracle. It was the beginning of something far greater, something that would shake the stars. And as the twin suns sank beyond the towers of the alien city, a new light was born in that mansion. A light that could not be put out. Asterix night fell across the alien city. The twin suns sank behind silver towers. Leaving the skies painted with violet and gold, stars shimmered above. Ships gliding like glowing arrows across the heavens. But inside the mansion of crystal and steel, the air was heavy with silence. The girl slept in her chamber, her legs trembling from the impossible effort of standing. Her mother sat at her bedside, watching every rise and fall of her chest. Her heart was full of fear and hope. Two storms fighting inside her and in the shadows of the hall. The human waited, silent as stone. The mother finally spoke, her voice breaking the still air. "You have brought her back to life," she whispered. "But what danger have you brought upon us?" The human's gaze was calm, but his words cut sharp. "Her miracle will not remain a secret," he said. "Already eyes are watching, already whispers are spreading." The mother's blood ran cold, her hands tightening around her daughter's. She had fought rivals before, but this was different. This was not about money or power. This was about hope. And hope was something her kind feared most. Far across the city, in a tower of black steel, lights flickered. Figures cloaked in shadows gathered around a floating screen. Images of the girl standing played again and again. The voice of a counselor hissed, "This cannot be allowed if word spreads. The people will believe in rebellion." Another snarled, "Shut it down. Take the child. Silence the mother." Their voices were cold. Filled with fear disguised as authority, they had ruled for centuries with control and order. But one fragile girl, taking her first steps, threatened to unravel it all. Back in the mansion, the mother shivered as if she could feel their plotting. She turned to the human, her voice sharp with suspicion. "Did you know this would happen?" she demanded. The human nodded slowly, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Yes," he said. "Because truth cannot be hidden forever." The mother's heart clenched with fury. "You brought war into my home," she spat. The human shook his head calmly. "No, war was already here. I only revealed what they were afraid of," and his words chilled her more than the cold night air. Suddenly, alarms blared through the mansion. Red light flashed across the crystal walls. Guards rushed into the chamber, their faces pale with fear. "Lady, enemy ships have entered the skies above the city," one shouted. "They are moving toward us. Their weapons armed." The mother's blood froze. Her worst fear arriving faster than she imagined. She rose to her feet, her voice thunderous. "Prepare the defenses, seal the gates, protect my daughter." The guards obeyed, their boots pounding across the polished floors. But the human did not move. his eyes fixed on the stars outside. The girl stirred awake, her eyes half open. "What is happening?" she asked weakly. The mother leaned close, brushing her daughter's hair. "Sleep, my child." "You must not worry," she whispered, but the girl shook her head, her small voice steady. "No, I want to know," she said, her spirit unbroken, even in fear. The human stepped forward, his voice calm but heavy. "They are coming for you," he said. The girl's lips trembled, but her eyes did not look away. "For me?" she whispered, "because I walked." The mother clenched her fists, rage burning in her chest. "No one will touch her," she swore. Her voice shook the chamber like thunder. The human turned to her, his gaze sharp and certain. "Then you must choose, to hide her or to fight for her," he said. The mother's breath caught, her heart torn. She had fought battles of wealth, but never battles of destiny. The girl reached for her mother's hand, her touch warm and trembling. "Mother, I do not want to hide," she whispered. "I want to walk. Even if the world comes against me." Outside, the sky lit up with fire. Enemy ships descended like predators in the night. Their engines roared, their weapons glowed with deadly light. The city shook as the first blasts struck the outer defenses. The mansion trembled, crystal walls vibrating with the shock. Servants screamed and ran through the halls. Guards raised their weapons, shouting orders. The mother stood tall in the chaos, her eyes burning with fury. The human placed a hand on the window, and the stars seemed to reflect in his glowing eyes. "This is the moment," he whispered. "The world will see her rise, or the world will see her fall." The mother turned to him, her voice fierce. "Then help me protect her," she demanded. The human nodded once, his face calm as stone. "I will, but know this, the path ahead will demand everything." The girl stood slowly, her legs shaking, but she forced herself upright. Her eyes glowed with fire, stronger than fear. She looked at the human and whispered, "Then let it begin." The mansion shook again as fire rained from the skies. The city screamed under the weight of war, and in the heart of it all, a fragile girl stood tall for the first time. Her mother by her side, her protector, her shield. And the human, silent and unyielding, carried a secret fire within him. The night was no longer silent. The war had come, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next step of the girl who had learned to walk. The night sky burned with fire as enemy ships circled above the city. Their engines screamed like predators hunting in the dark. Red beams cut across the towers. Shaking the streets below, the people cried out, fear spreading faster than the flames, but inside the mansion of crystal and steel. The girl stood tall, her weak legs trembled. Yet her spirit did not bend. Her mother stood beside her, her voice fierce and commanding, and the human watched silently, his eyes glowing faintly like twin stars. The mother raised her hand and shouted to her guards, "Seal the gates. Protect the child at all costs," she commanded. The guards saluted, their weapons blazing with energy. Servants scrambled through the halls, hiding in shadows and locked rooms. The mansion shook again as a blast struck the outer wall. Cracks spread across the crystal surface, glowing with heat. The girl gasped, her hands gripping the table to steady herself, but she did not fall. Instead, she lifted her chin, her voice steady. "They are afraid of me," she whispered. The human stepped closer, his presence calm in the chaos. "Yes," he said, "because they know what you mean to the future." The girl's eyes widened, her lips trembling. "I am just a child," she whispered. "I am weak." The human shook his head slowly. "You are not weak, you are proof," he said. "Proof that hope cannot be killed. Proof that miracles are real." The mother's heart clenched as she listened. Her tears burned, but she stood tall. "You will not take her," she swore to the unseen enemy above. Suddenly, the walls burst open with fire and smoke. Figures stormed into the mansion, armored in black steel. Their helmets glowed with red light, their weapons humming with deadly power. The guards clashed with them. Beams of energy lighting the hall, sparks rained down. Crystal shards shattered across the floor. The servants screamed, scattering into the shadows. The girl stumbled back, her body shaking with fear. But her eyes blazed as she clung to her mother's arm. The human stepped forward, standing between them and the intruders. His voice cut through the chaos like steel. "You will not touch her," he said. The soldiers laughed, their voices harsh and metallic. "You are nothing but a fragile human," one sneered. The human's eyes narrowed, his body still. "Then let me show you what a human is," he whispered. He raised his hand, and the air itself seemed to tremble. A wave of invisible force struck the soldiers. Throwing them backward, they crashed into the walls. Their weapons scattering, the hall shook with the impact. And silence fell for a heartbeat, broken only by the girl's gasp. The mother stared at him in shock, her voice trembling. "What are you?" she demanded. "What kind of human carries this power?" The human turned to her slowly. "I am not special," he said softly. "I am only one of many, and together? Humanity is far more than you believe." The mother's breath caught in her throat. Her mind whirled with fear and awe. The girl's eyes shone brighter than the stars. She whispered, "If he is not special, then what is his world like?" And her words burned into the hearts of everyone who heard them. The soldiers roared in anger, rising to their feet. More poured into the mansion. Their numbers growing, the guards fought bravely. But the enemy pressed harder. The mother raised her weapon. Standing beside her people, her eyes blazed with fury. "No one takes my daughter," she cried. The girl held onto her chair for balance, her body weak, but her spirit strong. "Mother, I will not go back, not ever," she said. Her voice rang out over the battle, and even the enemy paused for a moment. Shaken by her fire, the human looked at her. His face calm but proud. "Then stand with me," he said. "Because this fight is no longer just for you. It is for every being who has been told they cannot rise." The girl nodded. Her small fists clenched. The mother's heart swelled with fear and pride. She saw her daughter not as broken, but as unbreakable. The mansion shook again as another blast tore through the walls. The night was alive with war, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what the fragile girl and the human would become. The last wave of soldiers stepped into the hall, their leader in black armor. His voice was like ice, cold and merciless. "Surrender the child," he commanded, "or we will burn this city to the ground." The mother stepped forward, her weapon raised. Her voice was sharp and unyielding. "Then burn it. But you will never have her." The soldiers moved. Weapons ready to strike, the girl screamed, her body glowing faintly with the golden light of the box. And in that instant, the human's eyes blazed with fire, unseen before. He stepped forward, his voice thunderous. "You want to see what humanity is?" he roared. "Then look closely." The air cracked with energy. The walls shook. The stars outside seemed to pulse. The girl clung to her mother, her tears falling but her spirit burning. The enemy soldiers froze, fear flickering in their cold eyes. The battle was far from over, but the war had already changed. And as the night burned with fire and destiny, the story of a human and an alien child had only just begun.